look who it is. We're tuning in together.
Thank you for being with us. Feel home already because we will have some of the most transparent conversations.
Hey, we know that deep conversations are not always comfortable, but guess what? We have come across a safe place where we will be 100% open.
We will touch every angle of that unique thought, question, and untold story that can automatically impact the season and journey you are walking. Remember, we are not doing life alone. Now it is time to step aside to be who you are and say what you feel.
Make sure to stop by every week. This is Engel's podcast with
Santi and
Steph.
Hello, Adam. Thank you for being with us here today. It is an honor to have you.
Yes?
Of course. Thank you guys for having me, inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
So if you guys don't know, Adam is the reason with Antonio Regis, the reason why we, got inspired to start Engel's podcast. So thank you, Adam, for the work that you do, for doing everything that you are doing with Antonio.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm grateful, and I just can't wait to hear everything that you're gonna say today.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we're able to do this, and for us, starting the podcast was something completely new as well.
Yeah.
I've known Antonio for a few years now, and it's just this whole new world and how everything has changed. It's been a journey, but we really enjoy it. So, but we're gonna have I'm gonna say whatever you guys, whoever the conversation goes.
Of course. So, what do you guys think? What inspired you to start the whole, the Soul Tapes podcast?
Yeah. So it's funny because I don't know how your guys' journey has gone, but for us, me and Antonio, it really started with our friendship. When we get together, we have conversations. We just get to go into any topic. We'll take something, whether it's from culture or for faith, and talking about God, or just talking about what we're going through personally, and we just kind of go deep. So the whole premise of the podcast was literally that, like Soul Tapes. Like, this is like, we take a simple conversation or concept and we just go into it. Okay. So, when you listen to us talk, that's literally what we like. It's funny now because when we just hang out, I feel like we're recording a podcast because we're just like going into conversations and it just goes like that. So, we were literally the day that we decided to start the podcast, we were at the beach, just walking in Long Beach, and he had this idea. It's funny, I didn't even realize he had bought the equipment to start a podcast like 2 years ago.
Oh, he already had it.
He already had it, and he had never done it. And so he told me, he's like, "Hey, would you be down to do a podcast?" And it's funny because when he had brought it up, I was already like in my heart, like, I kind of felt like I would be willing, but I had told myself I wouldn't do it on my own.
Right.
And so when he brought it up, I was like, you know what? I'm actually down. And I was like, and it was literally, we were, quarantined. We weren't doing much. We were home. And it just felt like the perfect time for us to kind of get together and share conversations, our perspective. We felt like it was something that was maybe missing, or something that we feel like we could bring that was unique to, people who may listen to podcasts or want to hear a perspective that we may have. So,
wow. Yeah. So for those who are listening right now and watching, make sure that after you watch this video, go ahead and type the Soul Tapes podcast with Adam Cruz. So please, after you watch this video or listen, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and click on the link below. Actually, we're gonna just put it on the description. Of
Sounds
course.
Good. Totally.
And take a look at how many episodes you guys have already.
So right now we just finished season 1. So we did 29 episodes.
All right.
So kind of worked out perfectly. We decided to take a little break for a few weeks, but we'll be back in May, season 2, and we're gonna be jumping right back in. So
all right.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Okay. I love the name Soul Tapes. It's so unique, and it's very the name itself says what it's about. Yeah. Kind of. So
it's funny. We spent a little bit of time kind of going back and forth.
Isn't it hard?
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
So I do music as well. So that's like, so creating names and coming up with stuff like that.
Lyrics.
It's so hard to kind of figure out how to wrap something up into like one thing. So we spent a couple of weeks like going back and forth on some names.
I bet.
And once we found it, we sat with it, and you know, we agree. It felt like it really communicated what we were going to do. You know, so
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought this up because you do music,
yeah,
you know, and I listen to your songs and they're
I appreciate it.
dope, of
Thank you,
course.
thank you.
Yeah, and you do have a couple videos on YouTube. It's amazing.
Yep, yeah,
we-
so we just released some new videos. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
I gotta show it. I gotta show it to you.
Yeah, you
There's
have to
so
show
many-
me. Santi told me
Yeah.
you do music. What type
Yeah.
of music
So
do
I
you
do
do?
hip hop music. I'm a hip hop artist. So
Nice.
I was
Uh-huh.
telling Santi that I have a twin brother. So
I had no idea about
yeah.
Oh.
So me
I
and my
didn't know
brother
that.
actually, when we were like 16, started making
Yeah.
music together.
Wow. What inspired you guys to do music?
So for me, I've always loved music growing up. It's funny because I have kind of two different sides. So my dad
Mhm.
was really into like rock and roll and like that type of music. So we kind of grew up listening to a lot of that. But then my cousins and like my aunts and on that side, it was all like R&B and hip hop. And
Mhm.
so from a young age, I kind of fell in love with hip hop and just started
Right.
listening to it and immersing myself in it. And once we reached around 16, high school, we had some friends that were making music in their closet, like literally just making, like recording music. And it was the first time I ever experienced watching people write and create music.
Yeah.
And I had never
Right.
thought like the idea of writing a song or doing
Mhm.
anything like that never came to my mind until I walked into that room. And I remember sitting there watching them do it and think, I think I can do that.
Right.
And that was when I wrote my first verse, and it just went from there.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Hey,
amazing.
Is it okay if we play one of your songs right now?
So sure, if you want, yeah.
All right, here we
Whatever you
go.
wanna do.
By Adam Cruz. Rolling.
Firstborn, oh Lord. Passion for the ones who always had my back in. Never let the people's doubt become your main attraction. So many dreams up in my head, I start to feel amazing. I know that I'm the only one that's qualified to chase them. Stuck up in the house but can't control my mind. On the day we make it out will be a different time. I think that God been trying to speak, so now we gotta listen. I keep it real, that's how I feel and how I keep my distance. I've been building, working, pacing, trying to never go make it. I just sit back and I face it. Problems coming, falling, often. We ain't been taking no losses, been fighting for all of it, all of it. See, I don't know why they don't like me. Like me, rap so cold, go drink a icy. Icy, I'm in your head, you cannot find me. Find me, find me. I don't know why they don't. See, I don't know why they don't like me. Like me, rap so cold, go drink a icy. Icy, in my own head, someone can find me. Find me, find me. I don't know why they don't.
All right. How do you guys like it?
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah?
I liked it.
Do you like
I
it?
loved it. It was amazing. Yes. It was great.
Yeah. Okay. So I gotta ask you something,
Yeah.
Adam. I know you love the Lord. You know,
Yep.
I know
Amen.
you love God, and so, how do you manage? You know, because producing and writing lyrics, creating stuff, it can be
Yeah.
a little like
Mhm.
overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
How do you manage the whole, you know, relationship with God and staying focused on your career and your dreams?
Yeah.
How do you have the balance of that?
Yeah. So, kind of this is perfect, like tying into my story. So, like I said, me and my brother started making music when we were 16. About in 2016, so it's been what, 4 or 5 years now. My
Mm.
brother decided to stop making music, and I had to make a decision at that point: was do I continue by myself or do I, just stop as well? Because
Wow.
for me,
Mm.
being a twin, like this is something people don't realize, like and I noticed it in myself is that I was very like dependent on
On
him, like in the sense of
Oh.
we are working together. I liked that dynamic,
Right,
that concept,
right.
but doing it on my own was like there was a lot of fear there.
Oh.
So I had to ask myself in that moment,
Right.
like, God, like, are you calling me to do this? Do I feel like strongly like this is something that I want to continue to pursue?
Yeah.
And at that moment, it's funny because I remember when we had the conversation, I felt like I told him, I feel like I had this vision of myself always kind of doing music on my own. So, but I would have never decided to do that if he didn't choose to step away. So, it's been a journey as far as like balancing all that out of what does that look like, kind of my faith and music, and now podcast. And I started a brand called Firstborn, and that's been kind of the thing that I've been, has been really driving everything. So I had a conversation with one of our pastors, and he gave me this concept of being, there's companies that they call themselves like they're faith-based companies.
Right.
But he gave me this concept of being faith-driven. And I really, really resonated with that, because I felt like that's exactly how I create art. It's faith. Everything I do is faith driven. It's not that it's faith based, like, like I'm going to put Jesus on every shirt that I make, even though this shirt is a picture of Jesus.
Is that your merch?
Yeah. So this is one of my t-shirts.
Nice.
But the whole point is that it doesn't have to be explicitly, a certain way. So I really love that concept of being faith driven, because that ultimately I whatever I put out, whatever conversation I have is going to represent and reflect ultimately the foundation of how I live my life and what I believe, which is going to be through my faith. So, that really helps me stay grounded when it comes to making a song, or, having a conversation where, we might have to decide, okay, do we feel like that represented, what we want to, that reflects what we believe. So
does it get overwhelming at times? I mean, I know you have a lot in your plate. So
yeah.
Like,
yes. I'm the type of person that I try my best to like manage my stress. So I think one thing that I actually tend to do is I think when things get overwhelming, I tend to take a step back. So sometimes that might cause me to let some things go, or figure out in this season, what do I need to be investing my time into? So it definitely does get overwhelming, because it's hard to do a lot of these things. So like, we were just talking about, I'm about to graduate with my master's. Like, awesome. These past 2 years I've been working on music. We just started a podcast. I've been in school, got married, just finished, now 3 years. So, when it is a lot. But everything is compartmentalized, right? And everything has seasons. So there's certain seasons where I'm investing more in the music. There's certain seasons. So like right now, we just did music videos. I haven't really been in the studio working on music. I've been focusing on that part. We just took a break from the podcast. That's been really helpful. Like, so I think for people, it's not that you have to, like, and I'm just me, right? Like, I would never suggest like everyone has to do, I do what I feel like God is calling me to do. I love to create, and that's been a part of it.
Right.
So it's knowing what you can do in those seasons and being okay with it. I think that's why I'm able to balance it, is I'm okay with, in this season, I may not be able to do as much as I'd like. So now that I'm going to finish school, that's going to be a huge weight off my shoulders, because now that's one less thing I have to worry about. So,
that's how many days do you?
Literally a month, and I'm done with school. So.
Oh wow!
Congratulations!
So,
thank you.
You're gonna celebrate after that, of course.
Yeah.
A huge party.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm just gonna be happy to be done. Honestly,
that's awesome.
Well, go ahead. You had a question?
Yeah. So going back a little bit to what you mentioned, I love the faith-based and faith-driven.
Yeah.
How would you differentiate? Is that how you say it, Mr. Master Guy?
Yeah.
How would you differentiate faith-based and faith-driven? I really love that.
Yeah.
Like, we call our podcast faith-based, but I love the faith-driven part.
Yeah.
Like, is very, whoa. Yeah. So
yeah, and I feel like, because faith-based companies tend to have like this, there's an expectation that might be placed on them, and that's where when you're like looking into a company that is faith-based. So like I used to work for a nonprofit that's faith-based company. So, that didn't necessarily mean that they were explicitly like you had to be a Christian to work there or anything like that. But there's a certain, expectation as far as standard. What are they going to be doing? And I feel like with faith-driven, it just gives me the freedom for people to understand that, especially, honestly, for me, especially with art. I think art has this thing that it can be a little ambiguous. And I know I get that a lot. Like, oh, are you a Christian rapper? Like, well, this song doesn't sound very Christian. And it's like, look, like, I think it just, to me, it opens up the door a little bit to be able to give me the freedom to express myself in a conversation that may not be explicitly about church or God in that way, but it's it's about life, and it flows through, again, like my foundation, which is ultimately my faith.
Yeah.
So that's the best way I can describe
That's
it.
amazing.
Yeah.
I get it. You answered my question. And that's true. You know, sometimes we think that by doing a specific project, art or music,
Yeah.
we want to, I don't know if some people would like to hear the words, "Oh Jesus,"
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes I think you give the word out, not necessarily saying that. So
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
That type of word.
That's why I love, I don't know if
Yeah.
it's, I always forget if this is an actual scripture or just something people say, but where it's like to preach the gospel and then when necessary use words. So to me,
Yeah.
like I love that about like evangelism and how we can communicate the gospel.
Evangelism. Yeah, that's evangelism.
I love that. I love that. I mean, this whole idea of walking with the Lord is showing people by example, right?
Yeah.
So not even just by words or just saying that we're
Yeah.
Christians, but
it's funny because now that we're talking about this, I'm like, I literally just had that thought recently where I'm like, I feel like we're in a point in life where that is so much more powerful, especially to
Yeah.
this next generation, like Gen Z. You could preach God and preach, be in the pulpit all day long, but if your actions
Don't
say
match.
different,
Oh,
they're gonna call it
yeah.
out.
Right.
And I feel like now that's been something as I've gotten older. I feel like I've made a lot of mistakes growing
Right.
up, being around certain friends who maybe weren't Christian or struggling with their faith. And I feel like now, man, I want to be more intentional with my actions
Right.
because I could see where as we're getting older, it's just we need to represent well.
Yeah.
And it's tough. That's where it starts to really get challenging.
It's
Yeah.
good because we were talking about this the other day. We have one of my closest, persons that I have in my life. I am trying personally to inspire or at least to show example, get to the
Versus
point where
saying it.
instead of saying Jesus this, Jesus says this, the Bible says this,
Yeah.
all that is good. It's great. It's we
Yeah.
should say that sometimes, but ultimately, like my actions are gonna really show what I really believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Have you
Yeah.
found any challenges within that of like not well, first, did you come from a very conservative type of relationship with God within your family, or was it more liberal side?
I would say it was probably so my parents, when they got married, my dad was raised Christian, my mom was raised Catholic. When they got together, they both decided to kind of like start fresh because they're both, neither side of their family was very like committed to their faith necessarily. So my parents, when they got married, were really like the first ones in their family to start like really having a relationship with God and connecting. But even within that, they were never very like legalistic, or they never forced me and my brother, and then I have a younger sister as well. They never forced us or never made us feel like we had to choose God or the world or anything. It was never anything like that. So, when I talk to my friends now they always think about that, like, man, like, was that a big part of how we are today? Because, when it came to, so I was in ministry at a really young age at 11, doing like dance ministry and stuff like that.
That's pretty good.
And we were also playing football, and my family, we basically had a decision to make. Are we going to continue to play sports, or are we going to continue in ministry? And me and my brother both chose ministry. And again, it wasn't
like you.
Yeah, so like that's where for my family, and it would same thing with secular music and things like that. My parents weren't like, you have, like, they would play like Christian music, and they would show us new stuff, and we would, but they never like forced us to like make a decision about these things. So we just grew up and we felt the convictions from the Holy Spirit. Like we felt like, okay, like there's certain seasons where I knew I had to stop listening to certain music. There were certain seasons where I knew I was, and it was literally that type of relationship. So yeah.
Because it is a relationship. Yeah. And I ask you because I was wondering if this has been a challenge. Sometimes the way that you're raised, you think like, oh, this is bad, this is a sin, or this is not okay. So I was thinking like, do you challenge, is this a challenge for you to not necessarily bring the word God into your music? I'm not very familiarized with your music yet, but do you know what I mean? Is it a challenge for you?
No, it is a challenge only because I battle within myself. Like, I try to pay attention to my convictions as far as like, God, like, what do you want me to say and what do you want me to communicate? And I love like Christian hip hop, for example. I love
me too.
listening to the artists that, and they and sometimes, and I mean, it's funny that you asked this question because literally today I was asking myself this question, like, should I be more explicitly like saying, pursuing a certain way? But my heart has always been to preach to like the non-believer. That's something I felt strongly. Like, I want my music to connect with people who might not know God. And so this is something that's really important with music or even content in general. And I've learned this even like studying the Bible. Like, it's important to know who the writer is writing to, who is the audience intended for. So sometimes we read scripture and think that, we don't understand that, whoever's writing might be talking to believers or to people who are far from God or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as a writer, that's the same thing. Like, because when I'm writing my music, I'm thinking about, okay, how is this going to connect with people? My heart is usually for people who love hip hop, period. Because, it's hard in the church because people want you to make gospel music, but they don't even like hip hop.
Yeah.
So my issue is like, well, you're criticizing my music, but you don't even like hip hop. So to me, it's like my first love as a kid was hip hop music. So I have this battle because then I fell in love with Jesus, and then I have this relationship with God, and now I also know Christian hip hop. So like, I'm struggling with, well, am I shy about my faith, or am I communicating it correctly? So what I've learned to do is I'm just trying to be a better artist. I'm trying to be a better writer, and I'm trying to sometimes I think I'm just trying to get better at communicating where I'm at and making sure that it's genuine and authentic. As long as I'm doing that, I'm okay with it.
Hey, this made me think about we all know Justin Bieber, right? For the
not personally.
Well, not personally. Yeah, let me call him up right now.
Yeah, it's okay. Tony always brings up how he met him.
Oh
once.
Oh really? How? I want to know.
He said that he went to I think it was a Judas Smith service and he went to the restroom, and they like went to the restroom at the same time.
What?
Seriously? He was like.
Exactly, literally one of those awkward moments.
But do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Hey, so sorry.
That's funny.
What is it called? So Justin Bieber,
The
right?
new album, right?
No, not only that, but even the last album.
Yeah,
I think he officially said that he believed in the Lord.
Yeah,
a couple years ago, or I don't know exactly when, but
yeah, he's had a journey. For sure.
Yeah, he has had a journey.
Right. So he writes stuff in at the same time he shares his relationship with God. I wonder how his approach is, because so many people are after him, and they're like,
that's a good
what
example.
is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I know not all of the Justin Bieber's songs are explicit.
Yeah.
There are a couple of them. So I don't know how he even managed that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's a good question.
It is a good question. It's something I think about all the time too, because it's different when you're on a platform where you have. I mean, he's one of the biggest artists.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So, so. I just listened to a video today of a YouTuber that I really like, and he's a Christian hip hop artist and everything, and he was literally talking about this topic.
Wow.
So, one of the things that's important with Justin Bieber is two sides of it. The way I look at it is, number one, I know for a fact he doesn't write all of his music, so there's that. So, like for example, the song "Peaches" that just came out, like.
Which is not bad. I think it's the beat is pretty cool.
Overall, it's a great song.
Yeah.
At first, I'm not gonna lie, I felt kind of a type of way where I was like, dang, like, okay, you're professing your faith, and then you put this out. I struggled with that in the beginning. I was like, but then I literally, the first thing I said is, well, first of all, he probably didn't write this hook. I know for a fact, most likely, because there's a lot of his music that he doesn't write. He has like writers and producers.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the question. Well, is it as bad if he didn't write it? Maybe, but the other side of it is that he's also on a journey, like we just talked about, right? So, and I think this is where I feel like, so for example, like Chance the Rapper is another one who's professing Jesus, who's a Christian,
right.
And I personally have no problem with him cussing, honestly, because to me, I think that we put so much emphasis on, oh my gosh, they cussed, and oh my gosh, this and this and that.
Like,
and it's
we point at them.
So like my question is, why are we putting so much emphasis on that? Are we trying to find a way to like invalidate their faith? Are we trying to find a way to invalidate their relationship with Jesus, because if we're doing that, we could do the same thing to us.
Yep.
We're just not on a platform.
Right.
And then that's the other side of the argument is, well, but they are on a platform. So, but I think to me, this goes to a bigger thing that I always, one of my biggest things that I think about often is that we're more concerned with perfection and this idea of perfection. And it always goes back to that is, well, you're not representing Jesus well. Well, if they're being genuine, like we talked about, if they're being genuine and honest with where they're at today, what is a better way to represent him? That I'm not trying to put up a front, because if they, so anyway, I can talk all day.
No, but this is good.
Yeah,
This
we
made me
hear
think.
you.
I don't even have an answer for this. This made me think a lot right now. So.
But then you said if that's the journey that they're in, then we can't say anything about that.
And I think go for it.
I was just gonna say maybe next year they're gonna stop doing that.
Exactly. So it's like Kanye West. He's a great example of that. He literally said, if you want the old, if you want to listen to the old music, you can, but I'm not performing that music anymore. And because he doesn't want, so he's one that's who's been on that journey and now is at a point where he's saying, I'm no longer going to do that. So now that's why in his music he doesn't cuss. Wow. That's why he's changed a lot of the
that's
things.
A perfect example.
So that's a perfect example. So we want people to have this. So this is the thing that Christians struggle with, is if we understand like sanctification, that process, then we would understand that where they're at today is not who God has planned for them to be in the next year, 5 years, 10 years. But we don't care about that when you're in the public platform. We want you to change now. And I need to be comfortable with you today and how you are today. And that's where we have to always ask ourselves, well, why does that make us feel uncomfortable? Why are we bothered by that?
And like Santi said, only pointing at that, right? Because we struggle with personal reasons. Like lying,
everyone has something.
Lying, gossiping. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
But they're not on stage. That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But I think but to me, I don't like that argument, because it's like we're only saying that because we're still justifying our sin.
Right.
And that's what I hate that we do. We all we want to do is find ways to justify our sin by pointing at someone else and say, no, don't look at me, look at them. They're not right. I may be okay. You may never know. Yeah. But we can see them. So let's just focus all our attention on the famous and popular people.
Yeah. Even if we don't like the music. Yeah. Even if like whether you like it or not. I personally don't like listening to music with bad words. It's just my personal opinion. Yeah. I mean, I just, don't listen to it and that's it. But it's best if we just don't listen to it and not point at it.
Yeah, totally. And one of the, like I said, one of the YouTubers I listen to, he talks about the idea of like essential and non-essential issues. So like, that would be one of those things that's like maybe a non-essential. Like, is it a sin if I listen to music with cuss words? No. Is it beneficial? Maybe, maybe not. We can have that conversation. But is it bad for you to choose not to? No. There's nothing wrong with it.
Do you think it's beneficial?
Putting him on the spot.
In probably 90% of the instances, probably not, to be honest, because I've struggled with that as well. Like so for example, I'll give a
me too. I'm with you 100%.
So it's hard because that's the battle.
I have to turn off the music all the time. I'm just kidding.
No, it's funny because me and my wife have this conversation. She's like, I'm like, well, I want to introduce my kids to certain music, and she's like, well, not if it cusses, and not if it does. And I'm like,
right.
You're right.
Oh, your wife says no, and you
because she's the same. She doesn't she hates listening to when I have if I put a rap song. She's like, what is it? Like, can you change that? So so
I do the same, right?
Yeah. So and I get it, and I have to always also question myself and say like, okay, like, so that's why I love Christian hip hop so much. At the same time, because a lot of my playlist still is that, but then I still have my stuff that.
Oh, you have music with like bad words.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, but I mean, this is pretty good.
This is Angus podcast.
Yeah, there you
go. The reason why we started doing this is because we want every angle possible. Every point of view.
So this is a good podcast. Good.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I'd rather listen to the clean versions as well, but so that's my struggle of growing up is like, I used to be the kid that's like, don't give me a clean version. I want to hear the rawness of it. So that's where, but it's funny because then we've had Christian rappers who've cussed in their music and they justify it by context. So context is the kind of the
so
word.
good.
And when you say bad words, what do you feel in the music? Like
I don't say bad words. So that's the funny thing that like my wife says is she's like, oh, you can listen to music, but I don't cuss. And I've never struggled with cussing. Mm-hmm. So that was the thing.
So your music doesn't have cussing?
Oh, no, my music doesn't have cussing.
I thought your music had a cussing.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so people have asked me that question though, is would you cuss in your music?
Oh,
and my answer is no, because I don't cuss. I don't struggle with cussing. Like that's not a part of my language. That's not part of, even if I get frustrated, like you're never gonna hear that come from me. Right. So that's also the other side of like where I feel like I can consume it because it doesn't tempt me. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't put me in a place where I'm gonna start, using that. Like I've never, as a kid, I'm 10 years old. Someone's a kid saying, please cuss. And I'm like, no.
Really?
They would challenge me saying, can you please cuss? And I'm like, no, I just don't want to. I don't feel it,
No.
So yeah, crazy.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna take a little break. We got more from Adam in just a moment. Yes. So we'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right. This program is sponsored by Bee Honey. Make your life sweeter in a healthy and a natural way. You can order your honey by calling 626-703-0665 or by visiting beehoneyhouse.com. Now, let's get back to our conversation. All right, we are back with Adam Cruz. Thank you, Adam, for staying with us.
Of course.
And we got some Starbucks, so we're gonna enjoy some Starbucks while we finish.
Yep.
Our conversation. Adam, I did want to ask you, what's your prayer right now?
Like for myself or for the world?
For your prayer? No, for your personal journey. What's
Cool. I can answer that one for sure. So, obviously just everything that we just talked about, clearly I'm kind of, this year has already been acknowledged for me as a year of transition in some way, shape or form. So, finishing school is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. So I just feel very strongly about that. I'm getting to a point of that there is something new coming. Mm-hmm. That's what I feel that like God is preparing me. That's how I feel. Mm-hmm. I've been at my job, I work at a university. I work at Biola University as an advisor. So I work there too. So that's
what do you do? Just curious.
I'm a business advisor. So I work specifically with business students, undergrads.
Mm-hmm. That is a dream job.
I love it. I do love it. I've loved it.
I would love to do that.
So, so that's why I've been there it's going to be 4 years in August. And I don't know if I'm going to stay. I don't know if I'm going to, I'm open. Mm-hmm. And I feel like my prayer has just been like, God, like guide me to whatever is next. Like, I don't want to go to anything new that is not from you. Like that's an unintentional rhyme, but that's literally.
So like just going to the next level with you, with him.
With him, well, so it's our spiritual now. Are we talking about spirit?
No. Yeah. I mean, in general.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, I just wanted to make sure. I'm like, for me, like that's the career-wise or music or business-wise. Like I'm praying, like God direct my path to that. So spiritually, where I'm at is like I'm trying to go get a little more. Honestly, I'm in a place where I'm trying to figure things out a little bit. Like quarantine has been hard because I thought it was going to be easier to like create space to connect with God. And I feel like it's been actually a little harder for me because, I've been working from home as well for the past year. I haven't been in the office. So I literally wake up and I have like my home desk and I'm just, there you go, I'm at work. So it's been hard for me to kind of disconnect and create spaces to do certain things. So my desire right now has been to really connect a little more intimately with God. It's been like, okay, God, like I'm just wanting to kind of like spend more time in his presence and spend more time personally connecting and really being more in tune to his voice. That's been where my heart's been at right now. Is just trying to connect with him in that way.
Wow. What you got for Adam?
I want to be an academic advisor.
We were talking about this.
For Biola University.
Hiring right now.
Really?
I just looked today and they have an academic advisor position open. It's not for the business school, but it's for the office. So
do you have to have a master's or a bachelor's?
Bachelor's. I started with my bachelor's there, and that's how.
Do you like me? So you can.
Well,
say...
that's what I'm. This is an interview right now.
This is the actual interview.
So I'm nervous.
I know the hiring manager, so if you apply. then you can put me as a reference.
He's writing.
So,
I can put you as a reference. So he liked me.
well, yeah, you're right. True. Like, yeah, I spent their honeymoon with her. She's great.
See? Okay, we got something good going
There
on.
you go. So I have some reference to say, yeah, I know her. She's great. She'll be good.
That is so funny.
Bro, any tips for people who are writing music, who are in the middle of trying to make it happen?
Yeah. So, that's what's great about our world today, is that you have the ability to invest into your craft and to, make things happen. And my 2 pieces of advice would be, one, continue to sharpen your skills. So, if you're someone who's, and it doesn't have to be music, but if it's someone who's doing music, art, whatever, the best thing you can do is sharpen your skills. It's making sure you're continuing to level up and create the best art that you can create.
Mhm.
So that's super important. Number 2 is don't compare. I saw a quote or something say, like, don't compare like your beginning to someone's middle or something like
Right.
that. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's a big thing. Me and Antonio talk about that all the time, like comparison
ourselves.
as an artist, as a creative. Like, you're always looking at someone else and saying, man, like, why is theirs better than, why do they have better this, better that? And, you're kind of discrediting, what you've done or what you can produce. So I would always say, like, stay away from comparison, because it's going to kill you and it's going to kill your drive. And that's, as an artist, it's already hard enough,
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so that's why you don't need another excuse or another reason to put you down.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that was the first one, was sharpen your skills, and then, comparison. And then the last one is, I feel like now today, in the way that the world has shifted, is do not be afraid to do things differently. That's kind of like what I feel strongly about, is that we kind of grew up, and we were all kind of the same age. Like, we grew up in a very unique time, because, born in the 90s, and then, there wasn't a whole lot of like technology. It was kind of shifting, and then we got older, and then it just boom, like, changed.
Yeah.
So I still struggle with this idea that things aren't gonna, so like, for example, like me having a dream of being a hip hop artist looks very differently today than it was maybe 10 years ago. I would be like, okay, I want to be, signed to a major label, do all of these things. Well, now you don't need any of those things. You can do things differently. You can create differently. You can. So to me, as for someone starting out, is do not be afraid to do things differently. And also be very conscious of the voices that you're listening to. Feedback is really important, but feedback from the wrong person is not going to help you. So sometimes you have to differentiate, like, when someone has advice or someone's telling you something, and you have to ask yourself, okay, like, take it in, like, process it. It might be good, but it doesn't mean you have to live and die by everybody's feedback. So that's something that you ultimately, as a creative, I think that's where the relationship with God is so crucial, because you want to be led and driven by that, not by just people's voices. And even if it's family, sometimes I've had family and friends tell me, oh, cool, like, that's cool. When are you going to stop doing what you're doing? And my answer is, well, when God tells me to stop, because I just don't, if I feel like this is what he's asking me to do, I'm going to do it. And if I feel like that season is over, then I do. That's a hard one, but I have to accept that as well. So.
Wow.
Love it. Do you have anything else?
No, I love what you say. That's it.
I have something else. If that's all right.
Yeah.
You got me here. We're here. So let's do it.
Last week, or actually, I mean, this week we had Justin Hebert, one of our good friends, and I always ask this to Steph. When I was going through something hard, and it was a challenge. I was trying to accomplish something, and I asked this to Justin Hebert last time, but I would like to ask it. I would like to ask it to you to have to hear a different point of view.
Yeah. So
when I was trying to accomplish something, I started getting challenges, and I didn't know if it was a hard moment, but I didn't know if it was the enemy. It was the enemy trying to discourage me.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know if it was God trying to protect me. So I didn't know whether it was like the enemy saying, you cannot do this, you're not enough, you're not worth it. And at the same time, I have, the different side of the coin.
Mm.
I was thinking maybe God is protecting me from this. Maybe God is trying to, put me aside and taking me into a different direction. So I was like in between. How do I identify what is the right path I should, or the right approach to you know what I mean?
To identify the
To identify
Mhm.
what is
God, the enemy, or myself
or
that
myself.
I'm lazy.
Yeah.
that is a good point. That is a good point.
Yeah.
That's what we were saying last
No,
episode.
yeah, totally. I mean, I think, well, I don't want to answer a question with a question, but in this specific situation, was it, maybe you can give me a little bit more details as far as like, was this like were you asking yourself this question in the sense of, is God asking me to stop doing like a major part of it, or is it like a project?
I think it's great that since we talk about music, it is about music.
Okay.
It is about writing. My writing process, because I have my acoustic guitar. It's been there for a couple months already.
Yeah.
And Steph knows I love writing. Steph knows I love
That's how I met him,
making
with
music.
his acoustic guitar.
He wooed you in.
Acoustic guitar guy.
That's one of the things girls have on their checklist, is guy who can play guitar.
Who writes and plays music.
Is that what your wife had?
Maybe, but I couldn't play guitar.
No.
She wanted a rapper. That's why.
But you write pretty cool stuff, right? So even if you have a beat, like
I love to write. Writing.
She said acoustic or hip hop.
Yeah. I'll take either one. Yeah. No,
so,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I think it was, I started focusing on some other things.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much it. So it was my writing process. Yeah.
So you're saying like if God is asking you to stop writing,
I think I got to a point where I just I don't know why, but I got to a point where I didn't know if it was if it was for me to continue to in that journey, or maybe focus on something else.
Yeah. Well, as your advisor, I would say
as your academic advisor.
Thank you, Adam.
So the reason why I say that is because this is a conversation I have with students all the time. And honestly, it's something I really learned through my MBA program. I feel like I took a theology class. It was a theology of work. And I think this class, to me, I started the program with that class 2 years ago, and it completely changed like my life and the way that I view work and what God is asking of us when it comes to producing work.
Right.
So what I started to realize was, just because you feel like God has given you a gift, or just because you feel like God may be asking you to invest into something, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be something that's going to create wealth or money. Right. And a lot of times we start to question, God, am I meant to do this? But we're really asking is, God, am I going to make money off this? Right. If I'm not, then I'm wasting my time. That's what we're really kind of getting at. And we feel like it's not a wise investment because there's no fruit coming out of it. And what I've come to the terms with my music and all my creative expressions is that if I make no money off of it, it's not a waste of my time. Now, it might shift in the future. Maybe I'm not going to be spending all this money going to the studio and doing all these things. But like literally today, I spent a large part of the day like writing, because I am going to the studio on Saturday. So I'm working on some new songs.
Nice.
But for me, I've understood this process to be beneficial for other reasons that are not necessarily monetary. So, for me to write music has been like it's like my journal. It's literally me fleshing out my emotions. It's fleshing out like God, like, I sometimes I'm not the best at communicating what I'm thinking or feeling, but I can do it when I'm writing a song. So, what I would like say to you is that, asking yourself that question is what are the fruit that you're seeing through this? Is it something that, okay, maybe it's not going to be, I'm going to be the next whoever artist, or I'm going to, get a record deal and be a writer and write songs for bands or whatever. Like maybe it's not going to be all of that. But does that mean there's still not a benefit for you personally where you can express yourself, because the thing is, we have to realize like music is a way that helps us emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Like sometimes it's just for you to de-stress and let things out. But we don't want to put a value on that because you posted, you playing guitar and got 10 likes. Like that doesn't devalue your art or your
Right.
expression. It just whatever. That's just one side of the picture.
Mm.
So that's the question like I would present to you in that moment
Wow.
is what is that
Yeah.
what is the benefit for
I
you?
never saw
Thought
it
of
from
it
that
way.
from that
Yeah.
point of view. Wow. Thank you, my man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That was
I love
good.
that. I love that.
Yeah,
Hey,
that
for
spoke
real.
to me too.
You know,
I don't play guitar, but
no, yeah, but we all
Yeah.
have those things, and
Yeah.
that's where to me, that's why that class, like when I learned that, understood that concept, it took the pressure off. Because I think that's something that we do, like when we have these other passions. Because at the end of the day, like we have jobs and we need to make a living, and that's
yeah,
great. But it may
exactly.
not be our passion or what really like brings us alive.
It's
So,
crazy.
but we put so
Mm-hmm.
much pressure on these passions to say that they have to, I have to start a business with it, and everyone's going to tell you, oh, you should start a business, you should do this, and it's like, well, maybe it's not meant to be that. Maybe it doesn't
Yeah.
have.
It's
to
crazy
be.
because it's always like what we can get from it.
Exactly.
So that's a really great point of view. Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
where you have to realize that sometimes God gave you that gift for you.
Mhm.
And he gave it because you enjoy it, because you truly just you get something out of it that doesn't have to do with the world. And that's okay still. There's still value in
that.
it for you. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
I'm
amazing.
speechless.
Me too.
Yeah.
And Adam has something for us.
Yeah, I brought you guys
So,
a gift.
we want to show it.
Yes,
This
definitely.
is so sweet.
I do appreciate you guys inviting me into your home.
Thank you, Adam.
And I wanted to give you guys
This is so beautiful.
some firstborn merch.
I want to open it.
Aw.
Yes,
Yeah, we're
please,
gonna open
feel
it.
free. Yeah, so I launched my clothing brand through the music. So the clothing is a representation of kind of the music and everything that I've done. So
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Adam.
yeah, no,
I
of
know,
course,
this is so sweet.
of course.
Let's see.
Mm.
Oh, I love the material.
Yes, quality is
Oh,
key.
yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. I can't. I love the color
And
too.
since you guys are newlyweds, I figured you can match.
Wow.
And, they're perfect for going out or going to the gym or going on a walk.
them
Or
that.
I'm never
Yeah.
gonna take this to the gym.
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny. I have two types of people who are like, "Oh, I would never work out in this because I
Never.
want to wear it," and then you have the people
Yep.
that I don't
do?
care. Whatever works.
Wow. I love this.
Dude.
This is
There
so
you
beautiful.
there you guys have it. Adam, where can we buy this?
Yeah, so you can go to Firstborn Shop on Instagram or firstborn.shop on the website. So yeah, we're fully stocked right now. So get your
This
t-shirts
is so
before they're
beautiful.
gone.
And the material is
some
so
hoodies?
nice.
Yes,
Some hoodies too.
I do. I have that in a hoodie, black
Oh.
and like a sand color. It's like the most popular.
I love the material.
Yes. No,
It says milk.
no. So it's
Just
it's
kidding.
abbreviation. So MLK,
MLK.
Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez, Rosa Parks, Mother Teresa,
Oh.
Jesus.
Love it.
Yeah. So the whole premise, and this is where the brand has really birthed out
This
of,
is
is like
super cool.
is a lot of the shirt was to represent like people of color, first of all, people who are role models, people who have made a difference in society, and to really show that we have the same calling to make a difference. And again, going back to how we're ending it, like, doesn't mean that we have to be the most famous people in the world. We can still make a difference in the people around us, and that's the whole premise of what it means to be firstborn, what it means to represent.
All
Wow, I
right.
love it. And the material is amazing.
Yes, good quality.
Where can they buy
Thank you,
this?
Adam.
Yeah, on my website, firstborn.shop, and if the link is in the Instagram
Yep.
bio, so Firstborn Shop.
I'm gonna put it in the
Firstborn
description too.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
love
definitely.
the name.
So,
thank you.
is it okay if we can leave with one of your songs again?
Of course.
All
Of
right.
course.
Well-
What I'll do is I'll probably send you the videos, and you can
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
You got
play a
it.
video or we'll do whatever.
You got it. All right. Thank you, Adam, my man.
All right. Thank
Thank you
you.
for-
Thank
for
you,
being
Adam.
here.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
And I'm going to wear this right now.
Yeah.
Born broke, that's why we always need a
We
hope.
are so thankful to
Life
have
is
you
real,
today
never
and
took it
for
for
letting
a
us be
joke.
part of your
Southgate
journey.
to Long
Make
Beach to
sure
West
to share
Coast,
with
coming
someone
down
who
on my
needs to
street,
hear
grab 'em
this.
up and let's
You
go.
can find us on
Mama
Instagram,
said in hard
Facebook,
times, son, you always
TikTok,
rise. And don't
Spotify,
think about yourself,
Apple
many
Podcasts,
qualify.
and YouTube,
But I can't help
searching
when I feel
Angles
so
Podcast.
overwhelmed. All my
See you
problems
next week.
only be about myself. I believe in God,
Friends,
he
don't
believe in
forget
me,
to like
but
and
he been
subscribe
asking
to
for a
continue
lot,
sharing
like
this
who
mission
really free?
together.
If
See
all
you
my
next
friends
time.
live in hell, but I'm living dreams, chasing money, fame, such a game, and who to blame? I can get it how I'm feeling, how I live. I be thanking God for the love that's real. Living carefree, got the plug, that's it. Worry about nothing, got the dub like chill. I can get it how I'm feeling, how I live. I be thanking God for the love that's real. Living carefree, got the plug, that's it. Worry about nothing, got the dub like chill. I always thought the dream life would be clean, right? I grew up and saw that ain't too many team like. Every day ask for help, woe is me. Like if I'm the only one that's on this earth chasing cream, right? Am I wrong for wanting things I don't need? Probably spent 100 years worth of tears on them trees. Think a lot about myself, how you been, what you need. Couple dollars in my pocket make me feel like such a beast, woo. Pride before the fall, yeah, I heard that. Guess my head been in the sky where the birds at. Praying hands every night, that's a weapon. I love God, but only when I see the blessings. I can't get it how I'm feeling, how I live. I be thanking God for the love that's real. Living carefree, got the plug, that's it. Worry about nothing, got the dub like chill. I can't get it how I'm feeling, how I live. I be thanking God for the love that's real. Living carefree, got the plug, that's it. Worry about nothing, got the dub like chill. I always thrived off the emotion of being slept on. Yeah, my mind's a scary place to roam. So many feelings of regret, I need to let go. With bad company, at least you're not alone. I see my future in the mirror, I'm so attached to it. Wait, how I can't forgive myself and yet I give everyone else a pass through it. Fighting for the love of attention I never had to admit I had a problem. And the only one to solve them was me, myself, and